All right, everybody. It is a wonderful Tuesday, the 17th of September, and the month is just flying by. Also, it's a beautiful day today. It is like 62 degrees outside. Windows are all open. You probably be able to hear the animals outside, but we got something for you. That's right, we have something for you. And this is all about Carnival. Not just Carnival, all cruise ships, really. You heard about the iceberg that the ship hit. Well, it really wasn't an iceberg. It was just a big chunk of ice floating in the ocean, just doing its thing. It happens all the time. This was no iceberg, but it says the problem is that the masses, okay, is open to interpretation. And one person's iceberg might be another person's chunk of ice. And that's basically everybody who's filming. Look, we hit an iceberg. We hit an iceberg. It was a floating chunk of ice. If they had hit an iceberg, people, the iceberg would not have bounced off the sea and pretty much caused no damage. I don't think it caused any damage. Matter of fact, I read it didn't cause no damage to the ship whatsoever. It says when a cruise ship bumps into a floating ice, it's very temptation to describe it as an ice or an iceberg. Cruise ships and icebergs may have a limited history, but the most famous one is the movie The Titanic of all times. And it does scare people. It puts a fear in people that they, I know, I don't, but it's reasonable fear. I would think so. It says, let's see. It says, is a cruise line having a mixed opinions about the Titanic passengers? Royal Caribbean's World Cruises say they were warned to not to mention the doomed ship while celebrity cruise lines and Royal Caribbean brands offer a class of disaster on the sailings. What does that mean? Well, I've done this. It's a photo shoot, like being in the Titanic, the staircase, of photo session. It's pretty cool. But they also play was it something to the Titanic. Oh my God, I can't think of it. It's where the ship turns upside down, and they have all different new versions of that, from the very first one in black and white to the newest one. You know, so it's pretty cool when a cruise ship has of a piece of ice or any type, however, that's tempting. It's tempting to the news media call it iceberg. Okay. On September 9th, the Spirit had an ice related incident that both media and social media had varies takes on issues. Yes, I've seen the video. It's a floating big chunk of ice. Maybe I could stand on it. It will rotate. It's not steady. It's not solid. It's not attached to something the size of Mount Everest. So to me, that's not an iceberg. But I did think it was funny when I saw the video. The headlines rage and responsibility sensitive. Okay, so a lot of people are still very sensitive about the thing iceberg, and I have to understand that can be pretty scary because the movie is popular today, and then the Titanic movie really did bring reality to what happened, with scientists and the way they can reenact an accident just by science and math. You'd be surprised probably how accurate it is when it comes to the ship being hit, how it filled up, and how it and they took the names from the survivors and used them in the movie. Now, what actually happened between each individual on this movie, nobody will really know because I do not believe there is any living person left. And if back in the day, a diary was a woman's thing. And so, unless you find a diary of someone who actually had time on the Titanic, we'll never know. And there might be one out there. So, but yes, if you see at cruise, yes, film it. Check out the floating ice. It's not, and and the closer it gets to warmer weather, the smaller it's gonna get. Icebergs or ice glaciers, really, release chunks of ice all the time. They're probably like a pebble to the real big piece, but they're huge to us. So yeah, I mean, I need some coffee for this one. I do understand what you all think. Oh my God! And then you read it, I know iceberg. What the heck? But people go on the Alaskan cruises one to see ice, see wildlife, and you only allow you to do it certain times of the year. But just think of the ships that go through there all the time. There's floating ice in that water that you don't see. That's underneath those ships. Um, I do have to admit, it's a scary thought to think that there's an iceberg and today's technology didn't see it. Okay, think about that, the technology of today. If there was an iceberg before you even got a mile to it, the technology they have on the bridge would have been able to see it and say, okay, we need to be at least 50 feet away from it, because an iceberg, what you see is probably the top of it, and then it goes down and goes like this. So yeah, or uh, I would think so. I really would. Um, but just think about all the things that people do. I mean, the scary things and thoughts. I know that they're building a ship, or they were discussing it before the pandemic, and they were pre-selling tickets to it. I don't know whatever came of it. I gotta look that up. It's like a Titanic duplicate, and it was supposed to celebrate. I mean, celebrate the history, yes, but to me, that's is what you're celebrating: the people who died, the people who lived, the ship that was supposed to be unsinkable sunk. I mean, what are you celebrating? It's the anniversary. Yes, we learned a lot about the wreckage and how a ship can sink, how you think it's a good idea, but hey, it happens, right? So, no, that's not true. It doesn't happen. I don't ever recall it ever happening again. So, um, yeah. So, what do you think of them calling this big chunk of floating, twirling piece of ice? Because I saw the video, and that's what it is. It's like ice and water, and when it tapped it, it rolls. But they did check the ship out. They made sure there was no damage. They were when they got back to port. Because you guys got to recall the grandeur of the seas at one point in time hit a concrete pier, a concrete pier, and put a actual hole in the side of that ship. You might not know this story, but this is very true. And this several years ago, and they still was able to finish that cruise with that big hole in the side of it, and then take it in, and it went into dry dock, and it was patched. And when you walk by, you could see where it was a big gaping hole. It was high enough, but when the water's hitting the front, water should be able to go in there. It probably did, but that just shows you technology, design, all that cool stuff went into the ships today. To have one think that one would sink that way would be really, really odd. I mean, you can look it up. It's Grandeur of the Seas. My very first cruise was on that, and actually, the crew actually talked about the famous hole on the side of the ship. And people was like, "What? There's a what?" There was a what? So yeah, and so that should make anyone that's one of their fears. But playing the movies on the cruise ship, yeah, I have to say Royals King class there, and you can have your. But matter of fact, I have it hanging right there. I do. I have it hanging right here. Yeah. Yep, there it is. So yeah. So I'll put that back there. So, I have another one. Actually, I have two in front of that famous staircase. Like I said, it was a photo session, a Titanic photo session. So enjoy. Ta-ta for now. And I'll see you tomorrow at the next coffee talk. All right, everybody. It is a wonderful Tuesday, the 17th of September, and the month is just flying by.